He's sitting at 6-1 here with his mid-range deck. He's also won a Legacy Open here. He's not been in many, many Legacy Opens with Elves, and I imagine we'll see him playing that tomorrow, as that deck is very well positioned in the metagame right now. He's playing against Zachery Hill, playing Green-Red Devotion, and we will take a look at our board state here. Mr. Hill does have a Nykthos out there among a Arbor Colossus, a Pelucranos, Courser, a couple copies of Sylvan Caryatid. Looks like a Nissa Worldwaker on top of the deck. For Curran's side, all I see is a boring old Courser. Silence Believers on the top. These players have exchanged some resources, and here is a Sultai Charm. It's going to take care of the Arbor Colossus.
It's a pretty significant red splash here in this list. Not that we haven't seen this before, but mostly for double red spells, Chandra and Sarkhan.
I know that you've talked quite a bit about Magma Spray, touching back on our last match a little bit, how that's a great card to have against these Jeskai Hero combo decks. Well, Bloodsoaked Champion may have raised the stock of that card too. The
thing is, there's so many decks now where you just say to yourself, okay, well, I have Anger of the Gods as my sweeper for a little beatdown decks. But when you have a deck with Bloodsoaked Champion and some big stuff, your Anger of the Gods is not necessarily going to get the job done. We, in fact, saw that. Kent was able to kill a Bloodsoaked Champion, but not kill the Butcher. So the diversity of the threats there was a big deal as well.
Neither of those cards right now great on this particular board state. Some really large creatures in play here. Pelucranos, Courser on both sides. Curran, again, does have a copy of Silence Believers in his hand. You also see that there's a lot of mana over there. And Urborg among the mana, so Strive could be in play here for Curran. Dissolve on top of the deck.
Both these players right now, X and 1, playing for their tournaments.
Nykthos can generate 6. Nissa. Looks like it will resolve. That's going to come in. It's going to make that forest into an angry 4/4. Looks like it's time to attack. Silence the Believers with Strive. See you later, Forest. See you later, Pelucranos. Those are exile.
And Zachery tanked for so long on his turn and immediately exiled those cards that I wonder if that Silence the Believers came off of a Courser reveal earlier in the game.
It did. It came when we jumped in.
Oh, sure.
Yep, it's right there. There is Nissa. It's going to bite the dust from a Hero's Downfall. Dissolve now in Curran's script.
So some pretty looming draw steps here. Hero's Downfall, a Dissolve now, and now Dig Through Time waiting for the next draw step.
Top card is a Nykthos here for Hill. But he knows his next spell, if it's a good one, can be countered by Curran. And you know you don't want to Dig Through Time to resolve. I'm not convinced there's anything Zachery can do about it.
The nature of the format, the fact that, you know, blue control decks are not as powerful as they were in the previous standard format means that Dissolve is in less decks. But I believe that Dissolve is, in fact, more powerful now than it was in the previous standard format. It's just harder to find homes for it.
Pelucranos. Well, this resolve, you see Hill playing that as kind of a test spell, saying, this is okay. And Curran says, absolutely not. Counter that immediately. Don't even move the Dig Through Time. That's not going anywhere. You see Hill's going to play a copy of Nykthos off the top of his deck, replacing the one that was in play for the course. So he'll gain a little bit of life in the process. And now here are the busy bees. Hornet Queen going to come in here for Curran.
A great finisher for this sort of deck.
Yeah. 1 in his sideboard. Playing a huge role here for Riley. A Mountain, the top card, that's going to come into play. Hill will gain a life. It's going to 25. Wooded Foothills will be the draw next turn. When we jumped in, Hill looked to be in a great spot, but the power and the ability to strike Silence the Believers is the difference here, is that is a copy of Sylvan Caryatid. Curran knows the card in Hill's hand is a forest. He also knows the card he's going to draw next turn is Wooded Foothills. He will play a card off the top of his deck. It is a copy of Polluted Delta. Dig Through Time is now on top of the deck yet again. And he is starting to run away with it now. Yeah, dig, yes.
Yep.
You are doing it, my friend.
Well,
Dig number 1.
Let's start here.
Got a double bunch of cards here. 6 go away. It's time to play. See what Curran can find here. It looks like he found a Dissolve among these cards. Thought Seizes. I think Dissolve might be the easy take. He's going to take at least 1. The rest of the cards will go to the bottom. Top card is the Polluted Delta here. Don't get a great look yet at the other card that he took, but 1 Dissolve might be all that it takes. Now he's going to start attacking in the air. This attack for 6, going to put Hill down to 19. But Curran has a Courser back on defense, plenty of lands, digs at the ready. He is in the driver's seat.
I have to imagine that if you're a control spike, using dig through time and delving away your graveyard that you don't need and finding a counter spell among the cards in question has to just
dream
be
come true. It's got to be, right? I'm going to dig again. Look at me. Looks like he's going to find a Delta. He's going to sacrifice the Delta first, get a land out of his deck, and then probably dig. Looking to clean things up here is Curran.
I didn't even need this graveyard of removal spells and counter spells anyway.
Top card for Courser is an Aether Spouts.
Ugh.
If you had any plans of attacking, those are gone. The composition of this deck, a little bit different, but I kind of like what I see. You know, a player who's been working on a deck like this, Shaheen Taroni, he's been working on Sultai Walkers for a long time. Looks like he's shifted his focus to Esper recently. Surprise, surprise, I know.
It's only a matter of time.
It really is. But he was preaching the Sultai Walkers many, many times after Concept Tarkir, was released. Here's a Prognostic Sphinx. Hill going to sacrifice his Wooded Foothills. Needs a better draw. Problem is, Curran's in a great spot right now with that Dissolve in his hand.
I love the additions of Aether Spouts into this kind of deck.
Me too.
Makes a lot of sense.
You don't have to play a lot of them.
Yeah,
You know, it's not a card you have to play 4 of, but you know, 1 or 2 of those things can really take an opponent by surprise. It also just gives you kind of a safety net.
especially against the Jeskai Heroic combo deck where Aether Spout seems incredibly hard to beat.
Courser, the draw. Temple of Abandon's what's on top of the deck. There is a Courser. Curran doesn't really care about that one too much. There's a Wooded Foothills. Trigger both Coursers. Hill's going to go up to 16. And all I can do is pass the turn back, so Curran will untap. You see the top card of his deck is a Sultai Charm. He'll draw that one. Now it's a Forest. That one's going to come into play. Trigger the Courser. Tie game.
It is a tie in the strictest of senses.
Looks like a tie to me. All I can go by is the life totals.
It looks like it might be changing.
It's not a tie anymore. A little scry action here from the Prognostic Sphinx.
Well, Zachery in response could actually sacrifice his Wooded Foothills and briefly be in the lead.
You are correct. I had missed that. It looks like that might be what he's doing.
All right, Zachery, way to go.
Down to 15, up to 17.
Look who is briefly winning now.
Yep. When once damage does resolves, I believe that
Right.
Riley will take the lead back.
Yeah, as 9 points of evasive damage against his opponent with Aether Spouts and a counter spell in hand comes across, but whatever. Not that important.
It's not really about the cards in hand. It's about the life totals.
Exactly.
We can only go by what we see.
Well, when we all started playing Magic, that was kind of the way things worked, right?
Yeah. Genesis Hydra, the top card here. Beat down a clock. Little block. 2 damage is going to come across.
That's the concession attack right there. I'm going to attack just because, I might as well, but...
There's a Mystic. Shrug and pass the turn back over to Curran. Sultai Charm the draw. Aether Spouts on top. Here's an attack. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Just a little short right now, as he will scry through with the Prognostic Sphinx. Top card, Opulent Palace. Trigger the Courser, up to 15. Hills at 1. You see Aether Spouts yet again. And then Zachery will draw his Genesis Hydra and go through the motions here briefly. It's going to be Riley Curran who's going to win this match. You do see the Temple of Abandon on top. That'll trigger. A little scry action here. Xenagos, not all that impressive. Genesis Hydra is pretty sweet. Can't counter the trigger.
All right.
But I can show you Dissolve into Hero's Downfall. And that is going to do it. Riley Curran's going to win this match over Zachery Hill. 2-1. Sultai midrange is going to move on to 7-1. And for Curran, former Legacy Open champion and master of the Elves in Legacy, it's a nice start here for a Standard Open.
Good recipe for beating a Green Devotion deck is weather the initial storm and then outstuff them. They're gonna, the Green Devotion deck is going to have more draw steps that don't matter over the course of the game. So as long as you can answer their big payoff cards easily, which Riley's deck full of Dissolves and Heroes Downfalls can, you're going to be so much better than them card for card once you get past the early stages of the game. And it looks like that's exactly what Riley was able to do there game 3.
We will be following his progress throughout this tournament as he is 7-1 and definitely a player to be watching moving